Hello, my name is DJ Johnson, and I am with the cybersecurity team. And I wanted to take a little bit of time and go over a few things that we found on your system. Um, you tasked me with the task of going through your network and just verifying if everything is secure. You recently had a new internal network to support your production and operations installed, and you just wanted to make sure that everything was going to be secure. So we are going to go over some of that information so that you know um, what vulnerabilities that there are, and also what you can do to stop these vulnerabilities from being exploited in the future. So let's begin. First, we're just going to take a look at that production server. And as you see here, that is your new production server up and running, doing beautifully. And with that new server being there, we wanted to just run some scans and make sure that everything was doing okay. So we ran something called an Nmap scan. And what the Nmap scan does is it kind of looks at your system and sees what is vulnerable on your system. So we're going to take a look at your production server first. So these are some of the vulnerabilities that we found on your server. So this one is CVE 2014 3566. That is pretty much the number that has been assigned to this particular vulnerability. What it is it's a man-in-the-middle attack. It's able to obtain clear text data, which means to you things that should be encrypted are not encrypted. It's in plain text, meaning whomever finds a way to access or exploit this particular vulnerability, they are able to see whatever is going on in that area in plain text. There, nothing is secret. Um, the exploitability on this is pretty high, 8.6. Severity is at a medium. It's a 4.3, so it's not extremely up there, but it's still something you want to definitely take care of. And we're going to talk about some of the ways to take care of that later on. The next one we're going to go over is 2012, 21, 22. Exploitability 4.9, relatively low. Base score of 5.1. So this is pretty much somewhere in the middle. And what this does is it exploits a password bypass in MySQL. Um, Pretty much what that means is that it's exploiting a way to bypass and get into your SQL um, ports. And again, this is almost like a man in the middle. We can hear and we can see what's going on those ports, and that is definitely not a good thing. You don't want people snooping around in there. The next ones we're going to talk about is 2017 100 100. This is a vulnerability on WordPress, and it exploits a contact injection. So that means at a severity of 10.0, which is the top of the list. This is something that a hacker can get into and do pretty quickly on your system with a base score of 5.0, meaning it's not something to definitely definitely be afraid of right now, but you definitely with that exploitability factor, you definitely want to get that taken care of as soon as possible. Because they can juggle around things in your system and cause some problems for you. This next one, same thing. It's going to be the base score of 5.0, exploitability score of 10, meaning they could definitely do this. This one, I'm definitely going to tell you to take care of this. This is called Slow Loris. And what it does is it sends connections that do not close. And because they do not close, they do not leave your system. And then that opens another one and another one. So basically, it just slows your system all the way down because it's sending all these connections and nothing is ever closing. So everything, every machine on your system just slows down to a screeching halt. This is called a denial of service. And pretty much think of it like a freeway with all the cars in the city going down one freeway. You've now got a traffic jam, which is pretty much what this is. The next ones we're going to talk about, this one you definitely want to take care of. This is a VS FTPD, and CVE is 2011, 25, 23. As you see, it has a base score of 10, exploitability factor of 10. The reason this is so high is because it is on a TCP port, which means I can get into your ports and listen, but more so even than that, this has a back door, which means that a person could get a back door into your system. You may not even know that they're there, and they can get in and they can pretty much wreak havoc on your system. I'm going to show you later on what that looks like so that you know what what is going on with that and how to stop that. Um, you also have CVE 2010, 4344, which buffer overflow. This is going to be on your mail server, and so you're just pretty much it's improper rejection logging, so it's just buffering and buffering and buffering and buffering. Base score 9.3, exploitability factor 8.6, so relatively high for both, not anywhere near that FTP one that we spoke about earlier, but you definitely want to get it taken care of because it can really wreak havoc in your email servers, and you not be able to get or receive emails. So out of these, the ones that we're looking at is the FTP and the slow LoRa's you definitely want to take care of for your production server. Let's look at your web servers. So for your web server, and you'll notice that some of these are exactly the same, and there is a reason for this. We'll go over that reason here in a little bit. Um, Same thing as the other one. It's in your WordPress. It's juggling things around. Um, they're able to obtain clear text data out of your WordPress, meaning it's not encrypted, and I can go in there and I can read whatever I want and do whatever I want with that. You want to get that taken care of. We've got this one again, uh, juggling things around in your WordPress. It's another one. You'll also notice that you've got the same types of vulnerabilities coming in over and over, just another, uh, a different way of doing it. One vulnerability may go in one way, one vulnerability may go in another way, but it's the same type of attacks. There's also a reason for that, and we'll go into that here in a little bit so you'll understand. Um, we've got 2007 6750, which of course is slow LoRa's. Um, Again, exploitability factor at 10, and this is the one that is going to just keep sending those repeated connections and not closing anything and just bogging down your traffic. And because it's bogged down, nobody can use that server. Um, you've got 2012, 21, 22 again, which is the exploit for the bypass, the password bypass on MySQL. And then for these two, um, I would say the man in the middle attacks, which are the ones that are allowing people to pretty much snoop around in your FTP ports and your SSL open communication ports. Those are definitely the ones you want to take care of because if anything is in there that is important, someone can get to it and it's plain text, it's not encrypted. They can just take that information. Okay, so we know a little bit about the vulnerabilities. Um, These are the ones that I'm posing as the most dangerous. Again, OpenSSL, the HTTP server with the daemon outage. That one has a very high exploitability as well. And that one is attached to the slow Loris one where it just keeps sending the open packets. And then looking at the uh, web server, the most dangerous ones are going to be these, the WordPress vulnerabilities for your WordPress to get those taken care of so that nobody is snooping in those accounts. So once we did that, I went into your web server and I created a backdoor, um, pretty much just showing you these vulnerabilities. And if you look here, you'll see VS, you'll see the VS FTPD. This is the one that I was telling you about where you could get the backdoor into the system and be able to wreak havoc or do whatever you will. So this is me going into the account. I've managed to get a backdoor in. Over here, I'm in root, which means now I have access to do pretty much anything I want to on your system, whether that's add more admins, whether that's, it could be so much as to redirect your traffic to another completely different website and steal your client's information. It could be as malicious as downloading worms to your system so that, it eventually takes out everything. So this is very, very important that you get this taken care of because the minute that someone gets access and they're there with malicious intent, you can definitely lose everything. So this is a little bit more information showing that this is showing a poodle attack on your public server and me being able to get in and get access to your system via that poodle. So I'm going to show you these two videos, and pretty much this is just me doing exactly what we just took pictures of. So on this one, I'm going to speed it up just a little bit because it takes me a little bit of time to get into, um, we'll speed it up about that much. But I'm going to show you where I've started. What I'm doing right now is I'm going into something called Metasploit. And Metasploit pretty much is, um, it's what you use to take a look at your system and see what vulnerabilities there are and if they can be exploited. Any hacker, any person with malintent would have access to this. They can get in and they can just pretty much go through your system and see, pretty much knock on every door, knock on every window, and pretty much just see what opens, um, which is pretty much what I did in your system. And you'll see here in a minute once everything gets going that it's very easy to get into the system and for someone with malintent to come in and do some pretty malicious things on the system. So right now we're starting our Metasploit and getting that started so that we can get in and start trying to manipulate different codes in your system and see if we can get in and what all we can possibly do regarding your systems. So right now we've just pretty much this is letting me know that it's loading and it's going to allow us to be able to do some exploits. And right here, we're at this point we're in. And it'll take just another moment and you'll see a kind of a cute icon come up. And once we're in, we'll be able to start looking at the different exploits. Okay, there we go. As you see, it's starting on the system. And I am going to make this just a little bit bigger so you can see it a little bit better because there's our cute little icon. I don't remember if you remember, I think his name was Clippy from Windows 95. He was the cute little paper clip. But as you see, I'm going to start going in and I'm going to start searching for different exploits that I have ran on your system. Um, I ran a vulnerability scan. That's what the Nmap was for, to see what vulnerabilities there were. Now I'm going to plug in some of those and see if I can get into your system. Okay, so right now we're searching for that one that goes through the FTP ports. And as you see, there's a whole lot of them, 174. So we're going to go for the ones that give you backdoor access, which that was what I showed you before. Getting backdoor access allows for me to be able to get into your system and do whatever I want. If I'm able to get root access and create a backdoor, meaning you may not necessarily know that I'm in there, but I'm in your system secretly. I've created a door that you don't know about, and I can access it whenever I want. And that's a terrible thing. In regards to security, you don't want just anybody having access to your system. So as you see, I am going in. The R host is missing, but it is required. And of course, I have that information because I've ran scans on your system, so I know what is required. I'm going to put that information in and go ahead and set that port up. So what was missing there was the IP address, something that simple, which is easy to find. As you see before that, our port, our host was missing, and I've set up that our host there. And now we're just going to run this and see what we get into. And as you see, I'm inside your system. Not only am I inside your system, I found your shell, which means I found your network. Not only have I found your network, but I am in your network as root. That's a terrible thing. I can now, if I wanted to, I could shut your systems down. I could redirect all your traffic. I could set up different admins. I could give whomever access to your system. Can create other users. There's a lot of terrible things that I can do in your system, all with that one small word, root. You definitely want to take care of this. We're going to take a look at the next video here. Oh, we're going to speed it up a little bit. Okay, so this is the slow loris attack. Remember the one I told you about had the exploitability level of 10, um, but it wasn't necessarily really up there, but the exploitability was terrible. Um, this is that one, and I'm getting ready to show you exactly what this does. So as you see here, this was the denial of service attack that we showed on here. Again, it's our host that's missing. So I'm it's again the IP address. That's simple, something that's very much accessible to anyone. And I'm just going to set your R host to be the correct information because it's missing there. Okay, we've gone ahead and set the R host. I'm just going to show you that we've changed it where it's blank right here. As you see now, it's populated. And we're going to run and see what happens. It's creating sockets. 150 socket count. And it says keep alive headers. We've got one so far. And remember that I told you these don't close. So you've got two alive now, two cars on the freeway. Not so bad, but if you have people sending emails, you have people using voice over IP for a call center, um, if you're running any type of uh, socket driven, data driven, um, anything, running a website, now you've got four cars on your freeway plus what you're doing, and none of these are going to close. By the end of this video, there's something like 20 of them open and nothing has closed. And it's going to keep doing this until I shut it down. That's the only way to stop it is for someone to give it an actual command to stop. And it's just going to keep going. And that's why you want to go ahead and get this taken care of because this is going to slow down all the machines on your system. It's going to slow your entire network down to a slow crawl. You'll start getting complaints from customers stating that they are not able to access your website. Response times are slow. Emails are buffering. Videos are buffering, all because this is just sending more and more sockets and not closing anything. It's it's not a good thing and it's highly exploitable. Remember, this was at a 10 for exploitation. It's not going to stop. Okay, so we've gone over what's happening on the public server. Let's take a look at some of the things that are happening on other parts of your network. So here is the web server, okay? And we're gonna take a look at what I found on the web server. For this one, I've already opened Metasploit. I didn't want to take you through the waiting for that to open up. So for this one, we are going to look at that Poodle attack. Um, the Poodle attack, it was one of the ones where someone could just kind of stealthily be listening to your ports and your information. This one runs off of SSL, HTTP, which is your internet traffic. So again, it's your R host that's missing. I'm filling that in as you see here. Now we're going to run this. Now, of course, I'm not connected to the internet at this point, but if I were, I am now listening to your web traffic. So say for instance, a customer wanted to pay with a credit card. I can listen to that. Say for instance, a customer comes on and they're like, okay, I want to buy this, this, and this. I could intercept that. I can get access to your client's information as well because I'm listening in on your ports. This is another one. This is the the FTP. Um, Again, just filling in your R host information. And with this, same as it was on the public server, I can now, this one allows you to get a backdoor, which I've gone ahead and changed the R host information. We're going to run this. And there we are again, backdoor. I have found your shell and I have root access. Again, another very easy way to get into your system and be able to wreak havoc. Let me pause that. Okay. Another thing I wanted to show you is that I created a new user. As you see, that backdoor, remember I told you I could get in and I could create a new user or I could give admin rights to whomever. Well, I went in and I created an entirely new user. As you see, the user's name is Misdeeds. And once I did that, I was able to completely shut down your production server. Shut it down, stopping Tomcat Servlet Engine. And it's me that's doing it. Misdeeds 2 at Metasploitable. I accessed your information and I shut you down. It's that simple. You definitely want to take care of anything that says backdoor, and this is why. So I also wanted to take a look at some other things. Um, while I was snooping around in your system and looking at what is exploitable, I also wanted to take a look at some other security things. I ran into some really interesting files. Looks like you guys like to cook a lot of chili. I found several different states' chili recipes um, in your network, which I thought was kind of fun. But something that I did run into that is definitely, it could cause some havoc was this. If you see right here, I found a safe combination, completely plain text in your system. I don't know who is storing information like this on the network. They should not. And if they are going to do this, it should be encrypted. It shouldn't state that it is the safe combination. There's many more secure ways to do this, and worst case scenario, if this was the combination to a lockbox for, a bank or something like that, someone would easily have this information, and that's not something that you want. So please talk with this person in regards to having this type of things on your network. Another thing that you definitely want to do while I was in here, I wanted to just check your password information and make sure you know how the passwords are set up. As you see here, you definitely need to set up some password rules. I would suggest two-factor authentication. You definitely don't want to have things like this where it says password 123456789 or password as password. Or again, we have password 123456. These are easily infiltrated. anybody can run a simple program and be able to access and take over any one of these accounts. Definitely get with your IT team, set up some sort of two-factor authentication where they have a password and or something that they know like a password, and then maybe a code that goes to their phone, something like um, Microsoft Authenticator or Google Authenticator, something that's going to give that extra foundation so that it's not easily cracked by somebody coming in from the outside. Because this is going to get you hacked every single time because this is easy to get through. These are some of the commands that I used just to get through and see um, what was on your network, if I could, get root access, um, seeing what your IP addresses are, running simple commands on your system, John the Ripper to get those passwords. Um, just a few of the codes that I used. So I told you we were going to go over a few things. We definitely need to go over your ports. So that is where the majority of your problems are coming from. You have ports that are open and unsecure. And when I mean unsecure, they're plain text, they're plain voice, they're not they don't have public key certificates. There's nothing. You're using port 80 for TCP. You don't want to use that. It's easy for somebody to eavesdrop on port 80. Go ahead and move over to port 443, which is a secure port. Okay. You're using FTP right here, port 21. Port 21 is not secure. You want to move that to either port 989 or 990. When you move from a port, close it. That way someone can't get in there and use that port to access the rest of the network. Make sure you have them close it. I also looked into something called virtual load balancer, which is normally when you have like a physical system near your firewall, you would have a load balancer. That load balancer would help to stop those DOS attacks, those denial of service attacks. Well, you have a virtual system. So there's nothing for me to physically put next to your firewall. However, there are virtual ones. I did look into one for you called Free Load Balancer. Here is the website right here. I did check into that website to make sure that it was legit, and it is. So no worries there. Um, that uh, website is completely safe. Um, some other things you might want to do is move to TLS or SSL encryption, or if you're not going to do that, stack Kerberos on top of it. That way it is more secure and nobody is able to um, just see the information that is there um, in SSL. Another thing you want to do is right now you are using SMTP under port 25. This is for your email. Remember that vulnerability we found for your emails? This is why, because you're using an unsecure port, you're using port 25 right here. There is a secure port for this. You want to use this to move it to SMTP port 587 that's encrypted. That's what all of this is about, is moving yourself to encrypted and secure ports and closing any port that you leave. That way somebody can't use it. So you want to move to 587 um, and close that up. These ports that you see here, you definitely want to move like HTTP. You want to move to secure HTTP. You don't want your web service or your websites to be unsecure. That's where your public key certificates come in, is getting that taken care of so that when your customers are coming to your website, they're not getting an error message saying that this website is not secure. Okay. Some other things you want to do is you want to keep up with your regular patches and keep up with any type of security vulnerability or updates. You want to make sure that those are a priority. And then last and not least, definitely set up the two-factor authentication and the strong password rules. Remember that should be um, 8 to 10 characters. It needs to have letters, uppercase, lowercase, numbers, symbols, you name it. But it needs to be a lot stronger than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Um, Definitely do that as soon as possible so that no one is hacking into your system. All right, that's the end so far of everything that I have. I hope this helps you in regards to your endeavors and making sure everything is safe. I do think it's going to be a lot of help for you. And again, thank you so much for this opportunity, and you have a wonderful day.